The restriction seals immediately split into 14 copies in midair, all heading straight for the entrance. Wang Lin's eyes sharpened as he watched the seals. The moment they reached the entrance of the valley, they silently and instantaneously collapsed, as if they had been devoured, without a ripple. Wang Lin's eyes narrowed, and after a brief hesitation, a decisive look appeared in his eyes. His right hand once again formed the seals, this time taking longer. He formed dozens of them, which, upon being cast, immediately transformed into 14 versions. These seals densely formed a plum blossom pattern in front of him. Once combined, they immediately flew towards the entrance. Wang Lin followed closely behind. The moment the seals entered the valley, his third eye at the center of his forehead rapidly opened, emitting a flash of red light. Through it, Wang Lin vaguely saw a transparent light screen at the valley's entrance. As the plum blossom seals touched the light screen, a demonic shadow emerged above them. It stretched and immediately devoured them. Through his third eye's ability, Wang Lin clearly saw that the substances making up the light screen and the demonic shadow were nearly transparent light particles. Wang Lin's gaze flickered, and he immediately took a few steps back. Under his mental command, the plum blossom seals flying ahead quickly followed his movements and retreated. The devouring demonic shadow hesitated slightly before chasing after them, rushing toward the seals to swallow them. At this moment, the light screen at the entrance continued to thin as the demonic shadow extended. Wang Lin felt a sharp pain in the center of his forehead, signaling the limit of his third eye's power. Without thinking, he surged forward at lightning speed, crossing paths with the demonic shadow in an instant. He shot towards the thinning light screen. In the moment he made contact with it, Wang Lin raised his right hand. The sword chi of Ling Tianho gathered at his fingertips, forming two sword-like fingers that immediately jabbed at the light screen. The screen trembled, and the thin light particles scattered in all directions, forming a gap. Wang Lin wasted no time and charged through it. Everything unfolded in the blink of an eye. The intangible demonic shadow suddenly turned around, emitting a silent roar. All the light particles within the screen merged into its form, and it rushed back, chasing Wang Lin. A chill ran down Wang Lin's spine as he felt the cold wind of the nine hells blow from behind. The icy aura intensified, and his third eye's power automatically closed, unable to last much longer. Upon entering the valley, he immediately saw a scene unlike the outside world. The valley's ground was brown, littered with countless bones, no less than tens of thousands, densely scattered. Some strange small insects crawled in and out of the bones, as if gnawing on them, producing a series of crunching sounds. At the very center of the valley stood 8 short swords, each identical in appearance and aura to the ones in the first valley. They were clearly from the same set. At the center of these 8 swords was a massive beast skull. For menacing bone spikes protruded from it, exuding an ominous aura. Without hesitation, Wang Lin charged forward, reaching for the beast skull atop the swords. At that moment, the 8 short swords suddenly erupted with a ringing sound. Each sword flew up, screeching as they aimed straight at Wang Lin. Now, with flying swords ahead and the intangible demonic shadow behind, Wang Lin remained calm. At the instant the swords neared him, he pointed his right index finger forward. Freezing technique. This technique didn't just freeze people, it was a powerful immortal technique. Although Wang Lin's cultivation level couldn't maintain it for long, it was more than enough for a moment. In that instant of freezing the short swords, Wang Lin's body swayed and rushed toward the beast's skull on the ground. The intangible demonic shadow instantly pursued him. Wang Lin couldn't see it, but he could feel the cold air behind him intensifying. He had been waiting for this moment. Because his third eye's power couldn't be sustained, his divine sense couldn't detect the presence of the shadow. To deal with it, he had to wait until it was about to consume him, the perfect moment. Wang Lin didn't turn back, but the whip shadow at the center of his forehead flickered. The Karma Kunji whip materialized behind him and lashed out, hitting the shadow with a dull thud. At that moment, Wang Lin felt the cold aura dissipate from his body. Without any hesitation, his figure moved like flowing clouds, his palm gathering the restriction seal as he grabbed the beast's skull, sealing it before throwing it into his storage pouch. This all happened in an instant. The 8 flying swords regained their freedom and immediately screeched, chasing after Wang Lin. The valley wasn't large, and with no way to fly high, Wang Lin's dodging became increasingly difficult. The intangible demonic shadow seemed to have its own will, gathering cold air and only releasing it when it was about to devour him. This nearly caused Wang Lin to be swallowed, and it also blocked the exit, preventing his escape. Wang Lin's eyes flashed with cold light as the flying swords behind him scattered in all directions, quickly stabbing toward him from 8 different angles, each carrying immortal power within the sword she had released. They intertwined, forming a sword formation that was brimming with lethal intent. However, that was not all. Just as Wang Lin reached for the beast bone, dense green fog began to rise from the countless skeletons scattered across the ground in the valley. The fog transformed into phantoms that charged straight at him. Alongside the mist, the bone-chewing insects on the skeletons, seemingly triggered by some unseen force, flapped their wings and flew toward Wang Lin. A shiver ran down Wang Lin's spine as he realized that the entire valley was sealed, leaving no escape route in sight. The sky and earth seemed to conspire against him. His eyes narrowed, revealing a fierce determination. Everything here was not naturally formed. It was brought from the outside world. Even this mountain has no true foundation. With a swift movement, Wang Lin dodged the incoming short swords, green mist, and flying insects, making his way directly to the rock wall at the side of the valley. He muttered a low chant, channeling all his immortal power and thunder energy into his right hand, slamming it against the rock wall. A deafening explosion echoed across the valley. Large chunks of stone fell, kicking up a cloud of dust that spread out in all directions. 10 miles away, Li Yuan stood frozen, dumbstruck. He had no idea what had happened within the valley, but he could clearly feel the ground trembling beneath him, and the nearby mountain range shook with falling rocks. The immortal guard standing next to Li Yuan, whose thoughts were linked to Wang Lin, stepped aside, and without hesitation, landed a punch on the mountain range. Another thunderous roar followed. Li Yuan inhaled sharply, an inkling of understanding dawning upon him. His heart raced, and a bitter smile crept onto his face. He thought to himself that his friend Su Dao's ideas could sometimes be far too astonishing. If Wang Lin was acting alone, he might have been able to shake the mountain, but he wouldn't have been able to achieve his goal. With the immortal guard, however, everything changed. The immortal guard's body was incredibly powerful, and with one punch, the mountain trembled even more violently. Within the valley, Wang Lin's eyes turned crimson as he grabbed hold of the mountain and heaved it upward. At the same time, the immortal guard endured even greater pressure, both hands pressed firmly against the mountain as he roared, lifting it a full 10 feet. The deafening rumble echoed again, and even the storage dimension seemed to vibrate. The immortal guard puppet lifted the mountain, its body glowing golden as it forcefully carried it. The violent tremors reverberated throughout the valley, causing the 8 short swords to falter and the surrounding green mist to disregard Wang Lin, instead surging forward, following the mountain's vibrations. Even the flying insects were swept along. The immortal guard puppet's bones cracked as it roared, lifting the mountain even higher with renewed fury. The mountain shattered every crack it encountered, and when it reached a certain height, the immortal guard shouted and hurled the mountain downward. The earth trembled, and the storage dimension seemed on the verge of collapse as even more fissures appeared. The mountain fell from the sky, crushing all the cracks in the ground below it. Taking advantage of this, Wang Lin surged out of the valley. Even the invisible demonic shadow disappeared, as though it had vanished into thin air. Panting heavily, Wang Lin glanced forward after escaping the valley. He saw that the third valley in the distance had also been affected. The restriction lights flickered on the mountain, and it was clear that many of the restrictions had shattered due to the mountain's violent shift. Perhaps the immortals who established this storage dimension never imagined that someone would one day shake the mountain to break the restrictions. Wang Lin took a moment to catch his breath, then swiftly darted toward the third valley. His target was the ancient god leather armor, and with 2 valleys already cleared, there was a strong likelihood that it was in the third. Li Yuan took a deep breath, his shock slowly fading, and with a wry smile, he moved forward to follow Wang Lin. The immortal guard, having expended too much energy, transformed into a phantom and merged into Wang Lin's back to recover. The two of them, one ahead of the other, quickly approached the third valley. As they drew closer, the scene became more chaotic. The originally narrow entrance was now stretched into an 8-shaped gap, with restriction lights flashing all around. Wang Lin immediately noticed a temple inside the valley. The temple, though small, was severely damaged, with even the door missing. In front of the temple, 2 skeletons lay. One of them wore the ancient god leather armor. The other skeleton, completely bare, had its right hand pointed at the first skeleton's head, where golden light flickered, as if trying to penetrate it. The bone fragments on its head shattered, clearly crushed by this grasp. Although the battle from the ear was not witnessed, seeing these 2 skeletons, one could easily imagine the fierce struggle that took place between these 2 individuals. With a wave of his right hand, Wang Lin grabbed the ancient god leather armor from the skeleton, which immediately flew into his hand. The moment he touched the armor, he felt an overwhelming, blood-soaked sorrow emanating from it. Focusing his gaze, he saw that the leather armor was extremely rough, exuding an air of age. Even now, a powerful aura still lingered on it, as if it hinted at the former might of its wearer. Li Yuan stepped forward, coming to the side of the other skeleton. He fixed his eyes on the golden finger bones of its right hand, took a deep breath, and squatted down to carefully remove each of them. When he looked up, he immediately spotted the temple inside, which had no door. His pupils contracted sharply, and he spoke in a low voice, "Su brother, look." Wang Lin raised his head and stepped forward, looking inside. Even with his composure, he couldn't help but take a sharp breath. Slowly, he moved closer, scanning the area with his divine sense. After confirming that there was no danger, he entered the temple. Li Yuan also stepped into the temple beside him. The temple had 2 floors. The first floor had no offerings and was completely empty, except for several murals hanging on the walls. There were 9 murals in total. As Li Yuan looked at them one by one, his face showed an expression of disbelief as he muttered, "What? What kind of divine ability is this? How can such a gigantic person exist? Could this all be fictional?" In the murals, a giant, whose size was beyond comparison, was clearly depicted. Its forehead bore 8 star marks, and around it, countless immortals wielding various magical artifacts were launching a fierce attack. The immortals appeared insignificant in comparison to the giant, whose eyes always radiated indifference. Yet, the painting was so vivid that even the weariness hidden behind that indifference was captured perfectly. All 9 murals were similar in nature. 8 stars. Ancient God. Wang Lin murmured, looking up at the stairs leading to the second floor. He sighed quietly and slowly ascended, leaving Li Yuan behind on the first floor, still staring at the murals, lost in thought. After all, there were very few who knew about the ancient gods in this world. The second floor was simpler. There was only a small table with a yellowed sheet of paper spread across it. Nearby, a few paintbrushes indicated that the owner of this place had a passion for painting. Not far from the table, there was an incense burner, though only the ash remained. Wang Lin approached the table and looked at the paper, which was pressed down by a weight. This weight emitted waves of immortal aura, clearly not an ordinary object. However, Wang Lin's attention was not on the weight, but on the paper. Year BU 16, of the immortal realm, the ancient god arrived. A battle ensued with the immortals, and we were victorious. My magical artifact was damaged, but here, I crafted a piece of armor from its skin. Year BU 19, an unexpected change. The immortal emperor went mad and perished. I saw everything with my own eyes, saw the scene in the sky that should not have existed. Since becoming an immortal, I have never been afraid, even when fighting the ancient gods, but in that moment, I was filled with fear and hesitation. I saw something I should not have seen. While the immortals engaged in battle, I could only flee. A pair of eyes followed me. I must draw what I saw. The final strokes of the writing were messy, as though the person had written in a rush, with a sense of anxiety. I have drawn it. But what is this? What have I drawn? The writing ended there. Wang Lin's expression grew serious as he fell silent for a moment. He sat down at the table and picked up the brush, wanting to understand what had happened to that immortal back then. As he focused on the writing, a sense of anxiety slowly took over him. It was a mix of confusion and fear, and the same atmosphere seemed to linger in the room even today. Finally, Wang Lin paused, his hand hovering midair. He looked up and through the window of the second floor, staring outside. This immortal had just finished drawing, but he was even more confused. After leaving those words, something must have happened. Someone must have visited. Wang Lin put down the brush and gazed out the window. He had begun to piece together some clues. Looking at the paper on the table, he waved his right hand, and the paper immediately ignited into flames. As the flames consumed it, Wang Lin put away the weight and descended to the first floor, where he saw Li Yuan removing the painting from the wall and putting it into his storage pouch. Wang Lin hesitated for a moment before speaking in a deep voice, "Li brother, you must be very careful with this painting. Keep it hidden well, and do not let others see it, or it could bring disaster." Li Yuan seemed to ponder this and nodded. This place should still have some magical artifacts or jade slips stored. "Why don't you search more, Su brother?" Li Yuan asked. "You search if you wish." Wang Lin shook his head. After reading the contents of the paper, many mysteries surrounding the collapse of the immortal realm began to form in his mind. Especially after seeing the second valley, Wang Lin felt that even if there were some remnants here, they would be very limited. This was because the most important magical artifact had already been taken by him, and that was the Beast Bone. This Beast Bone was clearly the broken magical artifact that the Immortal had mentioned as being in the process of refining. Alright, I will set up the Annihilation Seal while searching around. I'll also look for an exit to leave this place. If there isn't one, it will take some time to create one. Li Yuan cupped his fist towards Wang Lin, glanced at the second floor of the temple, but did not ascend. Instead, he walked out of the temple and headed off into the distance. Wang Lin sat cross-legged outside the temple, taking out the 9 beast bones from his storage pouch and began to study them carefully. Time passed slowly, and in the blink of an eye, a month had passed. In the past month, Li Yuan hadn't gained much. By the end, he stopped searching altogether. However, it was worth mentioning that the 8 short swords that had attacked Wang Lin earlier had somehow been controlled by Li Yuan using an unknown method. Wang Lin was quite surprised by this, but upon thinking of Li Yuan's restrictions, he seemed to understand. During this month, Li Yuan had set up seals for all the collapse points he had calculated within this storage space. His determination to deal with the Blood Ancestor seemed even more intense than Wang Lin's. Whenever Li Yuan thought that with the help of his own restrictions there was a chance to slay the Immortal, his breath quickened. Although others were clever, they had one fatal flaw: they were blindly confident in their own restrictions. He had also considered what would happen if the Blood Ancestor didn't die, and thus made his decision. He would only assist in secret and never directly involve himself. Once the setup was complete, he decided to part ways with Wang Lin. After all, this matter was too significant, even though Wang Lin had shown him kindness. In fact, being able to secretly assist was already his greatest limit. At this moment, achieving this was no small feat. One day, Li Yuan returned to the temple with a solemn expression, looked at Wang Lin with a complex look in his eyes, sighed deeply, then flicked his right hand. A crystal-like restriction orb floated in front of Wang Lin. Su, I've set up a total of 1,465 collapse points in this storage space using the Annihilation Seal. As long as you release your immortal power, this restriction orb will trigger all the seals here and cause the entire storage space to collapse in an instant. Wang Lin took the restriction orb, scanned it with his divine sense, and confirmed that there were no issues. He cupped his fists and said, "Thank you." Li Yuan's expression dimmed slightly, and after hesitating for a moment, he spoke. "Su, if you don't want the Blood Ancestor to find you, I do have a method. However, it requires you to remain hidden in a cave and not go outside until the Blood Ancestor forgets the grudge." Wang Lin smiled calmly and said, "Li, I appreciate your good intentions. If it comes to the point where I truly can't resist the Blood Ancestor, I may have to trouble you." Li Yuan fell silent. After a long while, he took out a jade slip from his storage pouch and handed it to Wang Lin. "Su, this jade slip contains the method of the Annihilation Seal from my Li family. Although it can't be transferred at the Inheritance Hall, your study of it will be beneficial for understanding restrictions, especially the methods for hiding your aura. There are several of them in here." Wang Lin silently accepted it and nodded. Li Yuan sighed, then formed a hand seal. With the point of his finger, a teleportation array appeared before him. This array was unstable and seemed on the verge of collapsing. "Su, this teleportation array can only be used 3 times. You must be cautious. Take care." Li Yuan gave Wang Lin one last look, stepped into the array, and spoke softly, "If I had no attachments, I would stay to witness how my Li family's restrictions deal with a pure Nirvana cultivator. Su, take care." With his sigh still echoing, his figure flickered and vanished in the teleportation array. Wang Lin looked up, his eyes filled with cold light, and muttered to himself, "Blood Ancestor. Yashishiwe." Even if you have the Blood Soul Pill, with the collapse of this storage space and the destructive power within, Wang Lin, will gamble once. Can you truly revive completely? Wang Lin had a storage pouch on him, a pouch from Yashishiwe, but it couldn't be opened. Wang Lin could only use restrictions to seal it, ensuring the aura inside didn't spread too far. Besides this storage pouch, Wang Lin had once possessed a true Blood Soul Pill, but it had been used in the battle against the scattered demons in the land of demonic spirits. Though he knew there must be a real Blood Soul Pill inside this pouch, he couldn't open it. This heavenly defying pill, even the Blood Ancestor, would be unlikely to have more than a few. Considering all the years of consumption, he likely only has 1 or 2 left at most. With a cold laugh, Wang Lin took out the restriction orb that contained Yashishiwe's seal from his own storage pouch. With no further interest in asking questions, he flicked his right hand, and the restriction orb flew out, deeply embedding itself into the distant mountain range. After completing all of this, Wang Lin took a step forward and entered the teleportation array. The array's light flickered, and he vanished along with it. Blood Ancestor. Since you won't let me go, then I will do what Li Yuan called immortal slaying. Though unfamiliar, there was a faint, familiar aura in the air. This place was still the Thunder Immortal realm. Li Yuan is truly talented. Wang Lin looked into the distance. He rarely admired anyone, but Li Yuan's various techniques for handling restrictions made him somewhat respect him. Setting up a teleportation array within a storage space opened by an immortal was no small feat. The mastery over restrictions involved in this task was something Wang Lin knew he couldn't easily replicate. Withdrawing his gaze, Wang Lin raised his right hand and slapped the teleportation array behind him. The array immediately shrank and eventually turned into a crystal the size of a fist. Wang Lin took it and placed it into his storage pouch. He glanced around, and with a flash of his figure, he transformed into a streak of light, flying off into the distance. He had been flying across this fragment continent for several days, carefully noting the locations. When he reached a mountain range, he landed cautiously, ensuring there was no abnormality around him. Then, he burrowed into the ground and found a hidden spot to stash the storage pouch that Yao Shixue couldn't open. After setting up a few restrictions, Wang Lin cautiously left. If he kept this storage pouch on him, it would be too conspicuous and would not fit into his plans. With the pouch hidden, Wang Lin quickly moved underground, covering a great distance. After emerging in a plain, he looked back at the distant mountain range. His gaze flashed, and he turned into a streak of light, speeding toward the distance. His speed was incredibly fast. He did not linger on this fragment continent, but instead reached its edge and stepped into the void iron chain, flying rapidly. After flying for a month along the void iron chain, Wang Lin saw another fragment continent ahead. Taking a deep breath, he used the earth evasion technique to dive into the depths of the continent and found a spot to sit cross-legged. Immediately, he began forming restrictions with his hands. During the month of travel, Wang Lin focused on studying the jade slip left by Li Yuan, which contained methods for hiding one's aura. Under the immense pressure from the Blood Ancestor's looming threat, Wang Lin made rapid progress. Though he couldn't fully conceal himself from the Blood Ancestor's divine sense, he could slightly hide his presence. In ordinary circumstances, it might not be enough, but with Wang Lin's current plan, there was a chance that he could truly hide. Restrictions appeared around him, forming a circular restriction sphere. Wang Lin sat cross-legged inside. Just as the sphere was about to close, a phantom appeared behind him, and the Immortal Guard puppet stepped forward. Looking at the Immortal Guard, a sinister smile appeared on Wang Lin's face. He threw the crystal from the teleportation array, then slowly closed his eyes. His essence spirit separated from his body and merged into the Immortal Guard puppet. This was one of the Immortal Guard's abilities, allowing the Maker's essence spirit to merge, thus controlling it. As the essence spirit separated, at the moment Wang Lin closed his eyes, the last restriction flew out from his right hand and filled the restriction sphere. The sphere flashed and quickly contracted, turning into a glowing dot that disappeared in the blink of an eye. The Immortal Guard opened its eyes, revealing a cold gleam. It grabbed the crystal from the teleportation array and swallowed it. With a flash, it shot upwards, quickly breaking through the ground. After a brief moment of discomfort, the Immortal Guard, with Wang Lin's essence spirit controlling its body, scanned the ground. It couldn't detect the presence of the original body. If I didn't have this Immortal Guard body, I might not be able to hide from the Blood Ancestor's search. But now, I've come willingly. Once the Blood Ancestor detects me, it will be drawn to the essence spirit inside this body. Wang Lin looked down at his current body. In a flash, it turned into a streak of light and shot into the distance. His divine sense spread out in all directions, making him seem like a bright light in the darkness. If anyone was searching for him, they could immediately lock onto him. He flew along without hesitation. This feeling was something Wang Lin had suppressed ever since coming to the Luotian Star Domain. After all, he had fled here, and many old monsters from the Alliance Star Domain could be hunting him at any moment. But now, since the Blood Ancestor had arrived, Wang Lin decided to let go of his caution. Furthermore, with the Immortal Guard body, though it wasn't as powerful as his true body, it was far stronger than any ordinary cultivator or body refiner. Thus, Wang Lin naturally exuded an air of dominance as he flew. Blood Ancestor. Right now, I'm just waiting for you to come. Wang Lin's eyes gleamed with cold light. He was ready to kill. Perhaps it was his killing intent and the aura of deficiency that reached its peak. But along the way, even cultivators who encountered him hesitated and avoided him. Wang Lin decided not to search for treasures. Instead, he flew past various fragment continents. Every time he arrived at a continent, his divine sense would spread wildly. Time passed slowly, and in the blink of an eye, 5 months had gone by. During these 5 months, Wang Lin charged forward recklessly. He had important matters to attend to and would not actively seek trouble. However, if anyone was foolish enough to provoke him, he would strike them without hesitation. With his powerful physical body, combined with the divine abilities he derived from his divine sense, Wang Lin's strength reached its peak in this moment. In just 5 months, his name had already gained some recognition among the cultivators of the Thunder Immortal realm. In particular, his physical strength, which could rival even magical artifacts, made him an imposing figure. As a result, during his travels across the fragment continent, many cultivators aiming for the top would avoid him. Even deficiency cultivators would often frown and steer clear of him. However, Wang Lin did not wander aimlessly. Instead, he moved carefully around the fragments near his current position. This approach had 2 key advantages. First, it prevented him from accidentally missing a confrontation with the Blood Ancestor. Second, it indirectly protected his true body from being discovered by the Blood Ancestor. If he strayed too far, the Blood Ancestor might find his true body, putting him at a disadvantage. He was searching for the Blood Ancestor, and similarly, the Blood Ancestor was searching for him. The distance between the two was growing smaller. The Blood Ancestor, draped in his red robe, took a step into the void. With each step, it was as if he was teleporting, moving across the iron chains at incredible speed. His expression remained calm, but the red glow in his eyes grew stronger with each passing day. Despite his powerful cultivation, which would remain unaffected by even the collapse of the heavens, the one weakness he had was his only daughter, Yao Shixue. For Yao Shixue, he would fight against the heavens, destroy all obstacles in his path, and even if forced to choose between the third step of cultivation and his daughter, the Blood Ancestor might hesitate, but ultimately, he would choose his daughter. This was the difference between him and figures like Ling Tianhou and Tian Yunzi. For Tian Yunzi, he would likely abandon everything to pursue the third step. The Blood Ancestor had even abandoned his dignity and forsaken a vow made by his father on his deathbed, never to step into the Luotian star domain. Yet, for his daughter, he would do whatever it took. "Father, since you made me swear an oath, why leave behind a Luotian stone?" This question had troubled the Blood Ancestor for a long time. With a calm step, the Blood Ancestor entered the fragment continent ahead. As he did, his divine sense spread out like a fierce wind, sweeping across the entire continent. But at that moment, his calm expression suddenly turned cold. Slowly, he lifted his head and gazed into the distance, a murderous aura so intense it seemed almost tangible appearing in his eyes. Wang Lin. The killing intent was so powerful that it caused a nearby mountain to collapse in an instant, reduced to rubble under the weight of his gaze. As the mountain shattered and dust filled the air, the Blood Ancestor took a step forward, and in the blink of an eye, his figure vanished without a trace. Just before the Blood Ancestor set foot on the continent, Wang Lin, like a shooting star, burst out from the void at the other end of the iron chains. As soon as he arrived on the continent, his divine sense hadn't even fully expanded when suddenly, the sky darkened. Black clouds rapidly gathered, and even the earth trembled. At that moment, all the cultivators on the fragment continent felt a shiver in their souls, regardless of their cultivation level, whether in deficiency or yang fulfillment. The difference in cultivation was like a chasm, rendering them utterly powerless to resist, as if the heavenly might itself had descended. Wang Lin paused immediately. His eyes flickered with a sharp light as he stared into the distance, a cold smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. Finally here. With a deafening thunderclap, countless clouds seemed to be torn apart by an invisible hand, rapidly parting to either side. A blood-red glow poured through, enveloping everything below. A powerful divine sense swept across the entire fragment continent like a storm. The divine sense was so strong that the second-step divine abilities contained within it caused the fragment continent to begin to tremble and even show signs of collapse. Ahead of Wang Lin, the red glow intensifying as it pierced through the clouds became blinding. It was as if the entire fragment continent had been submerged in blood, as if it had been thrown into a blood pool. A figure materialized in the red light, a man with red hair and red eyebrows, wearing a red robe. The figure quickly solidified, revealing a handsome middle-aged man. In comparison, even the former Chief Feng seemed dull and lifeless. This man exuded a unique aura. After appearing, he calmly regarded Wang Lin, saying nothing. But Wang Lin could see the red flame rising in the man's calm eyes, a flame that seemed capable of burning the world. Without wasting words, the man raised his right hand and pointed forward. With a snap, it was as if the sky itself was pierced by his finger, and it shot straight toward Wang Lin's brow. If you kill me, even with the blood soul pill, Yao Shishiwei will undoubtedly die. Wang Lin stared at the blood ancestor and said slowly as the ancestor's finger approached. A loud bang suddenly echoed as Wang Lin spat out a mouthful of blood, his body like a kite with a severed string, immediately thrown far away. Mid-air, he flipped over and landed on the ground, causing cracks to spread out in circles with a loud cracking noise. Wang Lin staggered backward, each step creating large fissures in the earth. Amid the continuous sound of shattering, he retreated 100 zhang before stabilizing himself, looking disheveled with blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. Before him lay numerous shattered traces on the ground, seemingly testifying to the tremendous power of that finger. The blood ancestor stepped forward and stood 10 zhang away from Wang Lin, calmly saying, "I will only give you 3 sentences." Blood flowed from the corner of Wang Lin's mouth again, his bones fractured in multiple places. Although the immortal guard's body was incredibly resilient, this was the first time he had suffered such severe injuries, yet a smile crept onto his lips. It was a grim smile. Wang thought the blood ancestor would truly let that finger fall without regard for Yao Shishiwei's life and destroy my clone. At that moment, Wang Lin felt no fear. The blood ancestor was strong, but not invincible. As a rebellious cultivator, he dared to defy the heavens, let alone a mere blood ancestor. If the ancestor's finger had fully come down, Wang Lin believed this immortal guard would undoubtedly perish, and even his divine sense would instantly collapse. "You have 2 more sentences." The blood ancestor's eyes flashed with a murderous intent as he looked up at the sky and said slowly. He truly considered killing this man with a single finger and then searching his soul for Yao Shishiwei's whereabouts. However, he had to exercise caution. In his eyes, Wang Lin was extremely cunning and decisive. Otherwise, how could he stir up such chaos in the land of demonic spirits, tricking numerous old monsters, including himself, ultimately just watching him vanish into the tidal vortex? This person came with a clone, so naturally, he is not afraid of being killed by me. If I really did kill this clone, his true body would surely act against Shishiwei. The blood soul pill is not without its flaws. Wang Lin wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and adjusted his clothing, saying slowly, "Blood ancestor, Yao Shishiwei is safe. In these past few centuries, I haven't laid a hand on her. I can hand her over for you to reunite with your daughter, but in return, you need to let me go and promise not to trouble me." The blood ancestor's gaze returned from the sky to Wang Lin, his expression devoid of anger or joy, only calm as he spoke. "All right. I, an old man, swear by the Tao. Hand over my daughter, and I will not kill you." Wang Lin fixed his stare on the blood ancestor, pondering for a long time. He couldn't discern whether this person was speaking truthfully, and after a moment of silence, he spat out a crystal. It landed beside him and instantly transformed into a teleportation array, the formation appearing unstable and hinting at imminent collapse. "Yao Shishiwei is within this formation." Wang Lin spoke softly. He did not wish to continue playing mind games with the blood ancestor. After practicing for tens of thousands of years, the ancestor's cunning was likely deeper than his own. Understanding this, Wang Lin shifted from covert plots to open strategies, targeting the blood ancestor's trap. Throwing out the teleportation array, Wang Lin's body swayed and transformed into a streak of light, rapidly retreating toward the edge of the continent, into the void. His speed was astonishing, putting all his cultivation power into this escape. "Blood ancestor, I've given you the chance. How you choose is up to you. If you believe my words, enter the array first, signaling that your heart is open and your promise is true. Then I, Wang Lin, will also be sincere. You trust me, and I trust you. However, if you refuse to enter the array and instead come after me, it signifies a lack of trust in me, and your promise is false. Then don't blame me for being ruthless and slaying the immortal." Wang Lin's eyes glinted coldly as he increased his speed. Unless absolutely necessary, he really did not want to turn against the blood ancestor. If it hadn't been for desperation, he would not have imprisoned Yao Shishiwei. He had set the teleportation array for 3 activations to align with his plan. The blood ancestor glanced at the teleportation array, and a sweep of his divine sense immediately detected a trace of Yao Shishue's presence within it. While he couldn't see where the array led, the essence of his daughter was unmistakably clear. It was indeed connected to Yao Shishue. Taking a step forward, he positioned himself before the teleportation array. Grabbing it, the array instantly collapsed into countless crystal shards that the blood ancestor's right hand gripped tightly, causing them to coalesce back into a single crystal. Then, he abruptly turned, darkly gazing at the distant fleeing Wang Lin, murmuring, "Trapping my daughter for hundreds of years, and you think a few words will let me spare you? I do not believe in the Tao. How could I possibly let you live?" As he spoke, a killing intent brewed for hundreds of years shone in his eyes, and he surged forward, suddenly pursuing Wang Lin. Wang Lin was escaping along the void using the Thunder Chain Void when he suddenly sensed a killing intent coming from behind, becoming overwhelmingly intense in an instant. He sighed inwardly, his eyes flashing coldly. "Blood Ancestor, don't blame me, Wang, for what comes next. It's not that I'm cruel, but you've been relentless." The Blood Ancestor stepped forward, his killing intent thick in his eyes. In just a few steps, he was closing the gap. His right hand raised and forcefully pressed downward, causing the entire void to pause in that moment. The Thunder Chain Void beneath Wang Lin's feet instantly shattered, snapped in half by a powerful force. At the same time, the surrounding void was immediately enveloped by a sea of blood, trapping Wang Lin completely. "Refine." A low shout echoed, and the sea of blood around him began to boil, rapidly surging toward Wang Lin. The speed was so fast that, in the blink of an eye, the blood entered his body through every pore, immediately spreading his divine sense, which was embedded in the Immortal Guard puppet. An indescribable pain spread throughout Wang Lin's body. The essence spirit within the Immortal Guard puppet experienced extreme agony, as if being torn apart piece by piece. However, compared to his essence spirit, the Immortal Guard's physical strength was proving itself at this moment. Under the refinement of the blood sea, it managed to resist, slowing down the refining process. But it wasn't over. A streak of blood light shot out from the Immortal Guard's crown and merged with the void, disappearing. It wasn't truly vanishing but using a strange immortal art to break through the void, heading straight for the place where Wang Lin's true body was hidden. The Blood Ancestor's hatred for Wang Lin had reached its peak. He wanted to refine Wang Lin's clone, and also his essence spirit. Even the true body, hidden somewhere, would be killed using this method. The fragment continent, where his true body was hidden, was instantly covered by a red glow. The crimson light on the ground spread like an ocean, all rushing toward the location of Wang Lin's true body. It penetrated the earth, converging into a red needle that shot straight for Wang Lin. If this needle struck, Wang Lin's essence spirit would collapse completely, resulting in instant death. Wang Lin, hidden underground, suddenly opened his eyes. Without hesitation, he took out the restriction orb given to him by Li Yuan, released his immortal power, and manipulated half of the restrictions in the storage dimension to break. At the same time, his body swayed, and he shot out from the ground, the red needle hot on his heels. "Blood Ancestor, I wonder if your daughter will be safe in the collapse of the void." Wang Lin's essence spirit within the Immortal Guard puppet grunted and spoke these final words before collapsing completely. The Blood Ancestor's face changed. He almost immediately felt the crystal inside the teleportation array transmit waves of collapse. He didn't have time to deal with Wang Lin and the still unrefined puppet body. He threw the crystal out and cast a stabilizing imprint. The crystal transformed into a teleportation array, its third and final activation. As the array opened, a destructive aura immediately burst forth, but the Blood Ancestor couldn't afford to think too much. His face darkened, and he stepped into the array. The stabilizing imprint on the formation prevented it from collapsing after his entry. The Blood Ancestor's figure vanished. Upon entering the storage dimension, his face changed drastically. With his vast knowledge, he immediately recognized where he was, a storage dimension created by an immortal. A chill ran through his heart. After countless years, he had not felt the threat of death so strongly. Even after challenging Tian Yunzi multiple times, he had never felt his scalp tingle like this. After all, he was still just a cultivator. Now, his heart was racing as he felt it pounding harder. His extensive experience had given him detailed knowledge of immortal storage spaces. He knew that if this space collapsed, everything within it would be destroyed in an instant. Even with the blood soul pills, they would be useless under such destruction unless he swallowed them all at once. Perhaps the mysterious power within them could withstand the collapse. Damn it! How could Wang Lin find a storage space? Even Tian Yunzi would have to rely on luck to find one. Wang Lin, I will not rest until you're gone. The blood ancestor's teeth ground together in frustration. Upon entering, he immediately sensed his daughter's aura. He rushed toward a valley and found the restriction orb sealing Yao Shishiwei in it within moments. He didn't even have time to break the seal before he quickly stored the restriction orb away. At that moment, Wang Lin, being pursued by the red needle formed by his divine powers outside, wore a sinister grin. He triggered all the restrictions in the storage dimension, setting off its final collapse. You want to kill me? Then I will slay immortals and make sure you die. Wang Lin formed a sword with his 2 fingers, rapidly striking himself 9 times. His speed increased, and the crimson needle behind him relentlessly pursued, as if piercing to the marrow and bone. Gripping the restriction orb that held Yao Shishiwei, blood ancestor was like a madman, all traces of his former calmness gone. Only a blazing red radiance enveloped his body, and he seemed utterly insane as he charged toward the teleportation array, which he had solidified with his seal. Around him, the storage dimension shattered. 2 mountain ranges were instantly torn apart. A force of annihilation spread out, as if it was going to consume him entirely. Wang Lin, if I escape, whether it be to the azure heaven or the netherworld, I swear I will kill you.